7 years old. I like to write, swim, and I love playing on my rock solid playset.
We are the Carmine family, Jeremiah, my wife Stephanie, and we have 4 daughters, Cheyenne, Sienna, Giovanna, and Miah.
The day that we were diagnosed, we took Miah to the emergency room. She was having some issues using her hand. We thought maybe she had a sprained wrist or possibly a broken wrist. After several tests, x-rays, they couldn't find anything. A doctor ordered an MRI of her brain. And that's when we got the worst news of our lives, that they had found a very large tumor in her brain. She was 7 at the time of diagnosis, and she was diagnosed with brain cancer.
The new normal for us was understanding that the world was still going on around us, even though we felt like we were standing still. Having to take on medications, her taking steroids, that really changed. After we got through the medications, it took months for her to kind of turn back into what we were used to seeing her as, sweet little Miah. Some of the highs were her playset being built in the reveal, just to see the glow on her face, to know that she had a park that she could call her own. When we first bought this house, one of the selling points was a park right across the street, and it was hard to tell her that she wasn't able to go over there and play like normal kids could. So when she got her own, she was on top of the world. She felt like she could finally play again like a kid.
One of the lows that no parent should ever have to go through is scooping hair out of the bathtub and saving it because you fear that you may never get to smell your child's hair again.
So it was definitely a change for me personally to accept help when it wasn't normally my first instinct to allow someone to help in any regard. So it kind of took a little bit of me putting my pride aside and us knowing that not everybody has alternative motives or intentions. Let the blessings come as they do, and accept the blessings when they come. When it came time to tell the children what the diagnosis was and everything that we said was age appropriate. It was nothing, too heavy or overbearing to where they would be scared or, have nightmares or anything like that. But our oldest, her being as mature as she was, even at a young age, she did ask if Miah would want to pass away, and our answer was no. Not knowing what the outcome was going to be, our answer to her was no, because we put everything in our faith at that moment, at that time.
Miah's diagnosis has impacted her siblings in a rather positive way. They treat each other with kindness, and having 2 teenage daughters, they used to really have some disagreements. Now they really hold each other tighter, they appreciate each other, they love each other, and they show that to each other, which is something that I don't know if normal teenage girls at 13 and 16 do these days. But they have definitely embraced each other a lot more. So it was positive for them, I think. When we received our Rock Solid Ready bag, when we were in the PICU, Miah had just had a biopsy taken of her tumor. And obviously things go so fast when you get diagnosed. So we were just so relieved to be able to brush our teeth, to brush our hair. There were Uno cards in the bag, and I think for us that was probably the most special thing, because leading up to Miah's surgery, we were just in the hospital and she was bored, and she got Uno cards and a tablet. And for her, that was probably the highlight of her day, having just gone through so much. She's like, I get to play Uno and Roblox. We were just awestruck by the generosity and the thought that went into every single item that was in that bag for a family that didn't know that they needed it at the time. The kids did know that they were receiving the playset. We told them to give them something to look forward to. Miah was severely neutropenic. We were quarantined in the house, and it's midsummer. Kids want to go play. And we live right next door to a park. And Miah would look out the window, and she would see her friends in the park. So we told her, Miah, you're getting your own. And we did a countdown to the days that she got her very own playset.
On our playset build day, it was actually one of the hottest days of the summer. And we still had a big turnout. Like I said, there was probably upwards of 30 to 40 people here. Kids, grown-ups, family members, complete strangers. My brother-in-law and sister-in-law were out there helping. Miah actually, I don't think she remembers it, but she was able to screw one of the first boards together. And she, after the big reveal, she screwed the last piece of like a little emblem or a medal onto the Lake House set as well.
The established.
Yeah, established.
Yeah. Miah currently is NED, no evidence of disease. She rang the bell last month. She was able to have her tumor removed, and she still has some left-sided weakness that we're working to regain, and I think she's going to be back to running and just being a kid by summer, which is her favorite to play on her Rock Solid playset.
Looking back now, how our lives have changed since diagnosis is we don't take time for granted anymore. We hold each other a little tighter. We spend a little bit more time together. We don't live like, oh, we have another day, because at one point we didn't know.
I think people may not understand that we're still people. We have 3 additional daughters. And when they bring a new friend home and we meet their parents, the second that we introduce the rest of our family, especially when Miah was going through the thick of treatment and she was bald, we would introduce her as, this is our warrior child. And you would immediately see the change in them, and they were just like, oh my gosh. And we're like, we're still people, like, we appreciate the sympathy, we appreciate the empathy, but we still don't want to be treated as just normal people, even though our new normal isn't everybody else's normal. I think we don't want to be treated as we are sympathy baskets, almost, if that, were to make sense. We would like a regular hello, just treat us as if you didn't know that we were going through something so traumatic. Makes you feel normal when you're in a scenario or in a situation that you still just want that feeling of normalcy.